Another edition of the Greatest Calls Bracket Interviews. Talking today with Kevin Harlan of Turner Sports, CBS, and also of Westwood One. Kevin, I so appreciate you taking the time and hope you and the family are doing well.
We are, Jack. Thanks. Hope you are surviving and navigating everything and staying healthy and safe. And good to be on, and I admire what you're doing with all these calls. It's a gigantic project, so a tip of the hat to you for all the work you've put into this.
No, I really do appreciate that, Kevin. And as you know, you're featured multiple times. Probably from our generation, your most memorable call is when LeBron dunks on Kevin Garnett in the 2008 playoffs.
Garnett comes out on LeBron. Now they switch, and here's Pierce again. A Smith screen. Posey will defend. Oh! LeBron James, with no regard for human life, has given the Cavaliers their biggest lead tonight.
I know you've talked about this one on a bunch of occasions, but LeBron had established himself. The Cavs had, of course, gone to the finals the previous year, and it just seemed like that was another message sent that he was taking over the league. Curious if you can give us maybe a thought or two that you haven't shared before about calling that moment and your thoughts at LeBron at that point in time.
Well, the reaction was just immense, but the reaction of my analyst that particular broadcast, I was working with Doug Collins, who I had the very good fortune of working with for 7 seasons, and we were calling the game, and when LeBron went up over the reigning defensive player of the year, Garnett, and before that it weaved by a couple of other defenders of Boston, a very good defensive team, perhaps the best in pro basketball at the time, and gotten that angle on Garnett, who had to kind of lunge over, and for LeBron to extend and kind of fall away and jackknife his body into doing that. My partner's reaction led to that almost as much as anything, because he took his left arm and braced it against my chest, pushing both of us back in our chairs. And the call actually, the words actually came from a James Bond movie. I'm a big Bond guy, and I love the early James Bond, Sean Connery series movies, and in one of those movies, I believe it was Dr. No, he says to Dr. No as they're having a dinner right before Dr. No was going to do in Sean Connery, James Bond. Bond replied after he heard the villain's plot, he goes, obviously you have no regard for mankind, humankind. And I always kind of remember that, because I used to joke around with our kids. We were wrestling on the floor, or I was defending a Nerf basketball game against my young son, would use that line, but never thought about really using it in a broadcast, and it came out. It came out a couple times, actually, but I used it then, and haven't really, I don't think, used it since, to be quite honest. So we're talking 13, 14 years ago. But that's what I felt. I mean, he just had no regard for any defensive player, including the reigning defensive player of the year, in trying to stop what he was set to do, and that was jam it and make a punctuating moment in that game. And that play was as significant as any in that Cavalier win.
I was going to ask you as a final question, Kevin, how often people will come up to you on the street, or friends will come by you and say, hey, no regard for human life.
Sometimes they will, Jack. Other times they'll get something out of the 2K game, or they'll hear, something I've said maybe that week or that month. But it's when I said it, I really didn't give it much thought, to be quite honest. The reaction afterwards was relayed to me more by my colleagues and the people on our crew who enjoyed it. And but when you, as you know, because you've broadcast so many games, when you're doing a game, there are thousands of words that come out, phrases, and a lot of times you forget about them. You just say them and you move on to the next, part of the game and broadcast. So you really don't think a lot about this stuff. So when and I always say this, I always say the best calls are organically created, because your focus and your engagement in the game are so intense. You're so deep in the weeds with these broadcasts, you really sometimes don't even remember what you said, because you're just so engrossed about the play and making sure that your focus is laser locked into these plays and situations and the storylines that are developing during the game. So you really don't sit and think about what you say, a lot of it just comes naturally and organically. And where some of this stuff comes from, you really don't know. But, I guess in the moment you're looking maybe hopefully to put a exclamation mark on these kind of plays. And if people like it, great. And sometimes you say stuff and people don't react at all. So, but you don't do it for reaction. You do it from your emotion that's in you. And it's all the plays you've called before in that game and in that series that hopefully lead up to a call of a play that means something in the body of that game.
As you know, you're featured multiple times, 3 times right now in the round of 32, a couple of your radio calls on Westwood One and Super Bowls, one of them being the Philly special in Super Bowl 52. Why don't we start with that one first?
4th and goal at the 1. Foles running up and down the line. It's a direct snap, and it goes to Clement, who gives it off to Burton, the tight end, who then throws in the end zone. Touchdown! Foles caught the ball on a touchdown pass of a yard by the tight end. What did we just see? Holy smokes! The tight end just threw a touchdown pass to the quarterback.
We're listening to you make that call on Westwood One, and frankly, you say what we're all thinking in terms of what did we just see? Take me through what's going through your mind in that call.
And our broadcast position for that Super Bowl was at the other end of the field, in the corner in the end zone. So our vantage point was not great, and of course it's always best to have a monitor for that particular Super Bowl. We didn't, or if we did, it was on a delay, and I never glanced at it. So the good thing is that during that drive, and I don't recall how many plays it was to get down to that position, you begin developing a little bit of a rhythm and tempo because the players are in there. You're familiar with the personnel, and you're so laser focused just because that's what a Super Bowl, any broadcast, but especially a Super Bowl broadcast requires. So when it happened, I was just connecting the dots. I was following the ball like everybody else, but there was some sleight of hand and a lot of motion and camouflage, and you're hopeful that you've, number one, got the ball in the right guy's hands, and that you follow the ball, and then are somehow able to dig out the names, making sure that you've got everything as accurate as possible. And then when I knew that at least I thought I had the guys right, we saw that it was just like pandemonium on the sideline. The crowd was in an uproar. We had Philadelphia fans right below our broadcast position, and the look on their faces when it happened, coupled with the emotion in the building and the sideline view, kind of gave me that expression like, what did we just see? It was like, oh my gosh, right there, big juncture of the game, and they pulled it off. It appeared at the time flawlessly, and then replay-wise, it was about as well as they could have hoped when they conceived it.
As you mentioned, it's a huge juncture of the game, being a 4th down and 1 call. It's one of the most unique plays, not only in Super Bowl history, but in NFL history. Where does that one rank in terms of the plays you've called and now doing, I believe, 9 Super Bowls?
Well, very memorable. As memorable as any. We've had some pretty significant plays with the Patriots. Had a big catch by Manningham on the Giants sideline in a game against New England in Indianapolis. But that play that was orchestrated by Philadelphia shows ingenuity. It shows the reason why they were there, the confidence to pull it off, all of that. And you just hope you're up to the moment. There are often times when you listen back to a play and you're not all that enamored with your call. You wish you had used a different adjective, were slower in the description, had let the crowd breathe. I mean, there's 100 different things you wish you could do to tweak a play. But considering the complexity of that particular play and the fact that at least I correctly identified what was going on, I felt somewhat satisfied. I mean, you can always look to enhance, if you were going to do it again. But in the moment, with the gravity of the play, the bigness of the broadcast in the game, that is about as memorable. I still hope that my most memorable play is coming up, but that would have to rank certainly in the top couple because of the venue, the platform, and the play and what it meant to the game, and the complexity of the play, and it required a lot from a broadcasting standpoint.
Speaking with Kevin Harlan again of Turner Sports, CBS, and Westwood One, he's got 3 calls featured in the greatest calls bracket. So you mentioned some of the memorable calls you've had. Another one is featured against a guy who I know is one of your broadcast idols as well. Your call of Malcolm Butler's interception in Super Bowl 49 to seal it for the Patriots.
2nd and goal at the 1. The quarterback, Wilson, is in the shotgun formation. Lynch will flank him to his left. 2 wide to the near side, 1 to the far. In the shotgun, there's the snap, it's belt high. Quick throw, it's intercepted at the goal line. It's intercepted by Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler is intercepted Russell Wilson at the goal line. 20 seconds left.
In that one, you're up against Jack Buck. I know he's a guy you've looked up to for a while. And quickly, your thoughts on that call, but also I'm curious. I know you're a student of the craft, and you have a lot of guys you've looked up to over the years. What are your thoughts on Jack Buck as an announcer?
Well, yeah, I grew up listening to Jack Buck in the Midwest. My dad was actually the media relations director for the baseball Cardinals in St. Louis from 65 to 71. As a kid on Sunday afternoons, I used to go with him to church in the morning, have breakfast at Busch Stadium, and then would meander in his office through the press box, the clubhouse, the field before the first pitch. And oftentimes on very hot St. Louis summer Sunday afternoons, I found myself back in the press box getting a Coca-Cola or some ice cream and sitting in the back of their booth with the door was open. There were chairs back there. I would sit and watch him and Harry Carey, and that just endeared me to Jack Buck. I've gotten to know certainly Joe in our days at Fox together and through the years in broadcasting circles. So my regard for the Buck family, Jack and Joe, is immense in terms of the kind of broadcasters they are, kind of people they are, and were in the case of Jack. So feel blessed that I got to listen to Jack as a kid. And knowing now that I sit in the seat that he called 17 Super Bowls in, it's something that I couldn't have dreamt of as a little guy looking to get in this business. And that particular call with Malcolm Butler was a big play. What people, I think, tend to forget is a couple plays before that would have been probably the greatest catch in Super Bowl history when Jermaine Kearse was on the field and had a catch on his back after a joust with the defensive back on the sideline. It was juggled, it was bobbled, it was an incredible grab, and caught the ball, which gave Seattle this incredible opportunity to score. And then a couple plays later on a big call, they decide to throw it instead of handing off to their wonderful running back, Marshawn Lynch. And the play was made at the goal line by this little-known defensive back, Malcolm Butler. And in subsequent days, what we remember from that play is it was revealed that the Patriots had practiced that exact play the day before their Super Bowl preparation, before that game, in practice at the urging of Ernie Adams, who was on Bill Belichick's staff, had recalled what Seattle might do, had scouted that, had studied that, had seen it on tape, had jotted the play in his notes, and somewhere in his memory, he pulls it out at the last second of this practice so that they could practice that defensively. And they did, and sure enough, the play happened, and it was pulled off to perfection and sealed a Super Bowl win in the most dramatic way for the New England Patriots. And Sports Illustrated came back a couple years ago, and they picked the 5 biggest plays in Super Bowl history from a broadcast standpoint. That play that I called was one of the top 5 they listed all time in the Super Bowl. So I'm very gratified that it was recognized as that. One of the great things, Jack, about that call is it happened right below us, as opposed to the Philly special, which was on the other side at the end of a field that was the furthest from our broadcast position. This one was basically right below us. So my vantage point was really terrific and very fortunate, and was able to make the call on a very, very big play, a game-deciding play.
Well, Kevin, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. I know even during a time with no sports, I know how busy you are. And you mentioned playing with your little guy at home when he was growing up. I know now you got the whole family back in town, and I hope you guys are all doing well, staying safe, and hopefully we can talk again soon. Thanks again.
I hope so too, Jack. You know my admiration for you and the career path you set for yourself and the start you've had in this business, and you have an unlimited ceiling, and it's always great to run into a nice young broadcaster who's got his priorities straight and the world of talent that you've got, and great things are in store for you. And as I always tell you, is to tell a lot of young broadcasters, enjoy the journey. We're all in this business because we love it. We love the big moments, but we love the small moments too. And getting to talk with young upcoming broadcasters like yourself is really a joy. So thanks for your time. Glad you're healthy and safe, and take care. And I look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully sooner than later.